Picture this. You're at a fancy party. Everyone's dressed up. Drinks are being poured. There's a nice charcuterie plate set out. What could go wrong? When suddenly, the power goes out. There's a scream, and a body hits the floor. When the lights come back on, someone has been murdered. Ooh. I'm Jon Cohn, and welcome to the Boardroom. No, this is not where we go to plan our next corporate murder retreat. This is where we go to talk about fun murder retreats. That's right, today we are doing a special episode all about murder mystery parties in celebration of the House of Ink and Shadows Murder Mystery Month. So, a little background on my history with murder mystery parties. I have been doing them since I was like 12 years old. Back then, murder mysteries were very different than they are now. They were basically a script or a table read that you would do at night, and you just would read, everyone would read their parts, and it was really whatever. But in the ensuing 30 years, they have had some very, very cool updates to the formula that have made these parties a pretty central part of my entire life. So, what exactly is a modern murder mystery, and how can you put one on? Well, I like to start with the pre-made murder mysteries. At this point in our murder mystery career, we have blown through most of the ones we found online and have started writing our own. But there are tons of great ones out there already, pre-made and ready for you to jump right on in. I would highly recommend, if you're interested in making your own murder mystery party, visiting www.nightofmystery.com. They have by far the best murder mystery parties as far as the ones that I've put on. And again, I have done pretty much all of the companies that put them out. But if you want to personalize your murder mystery, if you've got more people coming to your party than there are slots in the game, or if you want to come up with your very own murder mystery, I'm going to tell you some hot tips on how to make this the best murder mystery possible. Step number 1, always be prepared. There's not a ton of prep work that goes into hosting a murder mystery. It really is do as much as you like, but there's a few things that are going to help make your murder mystery a lot smoother. The first is understanding exactly how the murder mystery is run. So I'm going to give you a quick run through of that right now. So at the very beginning of the process, you're going to be sending RSVP emails to everybody. You need to know who's coming to the party. Because you have to assign them characters. And some characters are more important than others, so you have to sort of tier it. Once you have your RSVPs, you're going to send another email out that gives everybody their characters. This is going to have their characters' names, it's going to have a little bit of a backstory, and it's going to have some costume suggestions based on the theme. Every one of these parties is themed. It's going to be a Dracula's castle. It's going to be fairy tales. Whatever your theme is, it's going to have costumes, obviously. So, yeah, that's part of what is in the pre-package. When people arrive at your party, they are going to receive a couple of things. They're going to get a name tag so that people know how to identify them at the party. They're going to get money, some funny money. We give out something like $1,000 or $500 worth of funny money so that people can bribe each other, so that people can... We had somebody come one year who just decided he wanted to be a bartender, and he put out a jar and mixed drinks for people. And he ended up having the most money at the end of the night. There's all sorts of cool things people can do with the money. The other biggest thing is that they have the part 1 of their character's story for the night. So the way that works is on that card or that piece of paper, it's going to say some motivations for the evening. It might be, you've got beef with this person. You need to resolve it. You need to accuse somebody of doing something that you didn't like at one point. You got to bribe or blackmail somebody. These are all things that could be on the card. Halfway through the night, somebody's got to die. It is written on the card who's going to die, but you should probably know in advance who it is, because when that time comes, you're going to want to pull them aside and say, hey buddy, I hope you prepared your death scene, and I hope you're going to make it look good, because it's coming. They're going to die, and then everybody's going to get the round 2 cards or papers for the night, and that's when we're going to have more accusations. We're going to have things that build off of what happened in Act 1 of the night. There's also going to be some evidence that's going to be put in some people's cards. One person's going to take on the role of an investigator, and they're going to be wanting to interview people, collect evidence, lay all of that evidence out, so that when we reach the accusation, the official accusation part of the night, everybody has all of the information available and can make their guesses. So when we get to that part, the investigator, they'll give a speech and say, we have to find out who it is, and now's the time to make your guesses. Everybody writes down their guesses, they hand it to somebody who tallies it all together. Then we will have the speech that resolves the mystery, and that's usually done by the investigator too. They'll say, well, it turns out it was this person and this is why. And then the party is, as far as your responsibilities go, the party's pretty much over at that point. There are a few other things you can do, but we'll get into that in other tips. Tip number 2, you gotta go all in. You are, as the host, you are leading the charge for this murder mystery. People are going to follow your lead. So if you invite people over and you haven't done any decorating, you're not really wearing costumes, you're not playing your character, they're not going to feel like they are in a space that is encouraging playing the game. So it's your job as the host to set the scene in a way that's going to make people feel comfortable making an ass out of themselves, because that's what we're kind of doing here. And when everybody buys in, something kind of magical happens. So you got to be wearing the costumes, you got to be doing your decorating, you got to have some energy toward playing your character right from the start. If you do, other people will want to do that too. And once people start, it's very contagious. People will very quickly fall into their characters in ways that you might not even expect. One year we had a couple and they decided halfway through, there was somebody who had been sleeping around on somebody. It was Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf, and the wolf had been turned into a human, and she fully slapped him in the face in the middle of the party. Was not planned at all, but it was so cool. It was so interesting. It was so much fun, and they really sold it. They sold it in a really interesting way, and it got everybody else to just be even more into it. We have people that come to these parties year after year, and they don't know each other outside of our murder mystery parties. And so they only know each other as the characters that they've been. And they'll say, oh, I can't wait for Frankenstein's monster to come again this year. Or, oh, is Little Red Riding coming this year? And is she going to slap me in the face? These are all things that will happen organically throughout this party, but only if you foster an environment where that can happen. And finally, tip number 3, it's fun to create your own traditions. By that, I mean, one thing we do every year, which has taken off and become kind of a tradition in our murder mystery parties, is that we do prizes at the end. We have people vote not just on who they think is the killer, but we have people vote on best dressed, on most money. And that's just people putting in their amount of money, but also best performance. And so at the end of the night, we will announce all of these winners and we'll have prizes for them. There's sometimes just things like little Lego minifigures or a hat. One year we did bottle rockets. It doesn't have to be anything special, but it does make people feel good to have something that they can take home and go, hey, this was a really cool night. Remember that silly prize that we won for going all in on our character? That was cool. That was memorable. I can't wait to do this again next year. So those are some tips on how to run your murder mystery. Now, I will give a couple of tips on making your own murder mystery, because There are some really good ones out there, but sometimes they're not going to have enough characters to accommodate all of your guests. Or you might want to create your own. One year I wrote my own that was a Batman murder mystery where you were all playing as Batman's villains, and you were there invited by the Riddler, and he was going to give away Batman's identity to the person who had the most money. And of course, somebody ends up stealing that, and they murdered the Joker, and we had to figure out who stole the box, who killed the Joker. One year we did a Barbie murder mystery where it took place after the Barbie movie, and Alan, who can fit in any Ken's clothes, had decided he was going to try all of these different jobs, be all these different types of Kens, and of course, Alan gets murdered, and we have to figure out who killed him. In order to write your own, the biggest thing is that you need to have motivations for your characters that don't necessarily have to lead anywhere. There are going to be red herrings all over the place in this party. That's the big fun of it, is you get all sorts of information. Everybody has beefs. Everybody has these implied histories that you are working around. That's where the fun of the story is. But if everybody is working around the main mystery, then you're either going to have everybody guessing it correctly, or you're going to run out of content for people to talk about. So you need to have red herring stories for people to get invested in, particularly if you have larger groups of guests. Tip number 2 for creating your own murder mystery is give yourself time. You're going to sit down and think, well, this isn't going to be that hard. It is. It's very hard. It takes months and months sometimes to get everything written out and prepared fully. When I wrote my first one for the Batman murder mystery, I started writing it in March, and we had the party in October. So that sort of gives a sense of the amount of time that you might have to put into it. Now, I will admit I'm a little bit of a crazy person, so I went real hard on it. You probably don't have to go as hard as I did, but you don't want to get stressed out ahead of the party trying to write it. There's a lot that you can do, and you can find very quickly that you get caught up in how much prep work you're doing. Like I said, it doesn't require that much, but you might want to put a lot into it because you're having fun and because you want it to be a great party and you want it to look nice. So you don't want to cut into that time by still having to hurry to get your mystery written, if that makes sense. Number 3, and this is the biggest one, don't forget to have fun. We put so much into these parties. There's so much prep work that we do, and we spend so much time. We really spend almost the whole year getting ready for these because we have so much fun doing them. But the night that it happens, a lot of the time we're so invested in all of the work we put in that we forget to engage with the actual party itself. The whole thing can go by kind of like a blur. It's a little bit like when I got married, and you have the whole day and you're like, well, gosh, that rushed by and it was a blur. It happens with these parties. So don't forget to take some time to have a drink yourself or have some snacks yourself. Have some conversations that are not just based around the murder mystery, and take some pictures, because God knows I wish I had taken more. All right, well, those are my tips for hosting your murder mystery if it's a pre-made, or building your own murder mystery. I hope that you can have as much fun killing one of your friends as we do every year. Thanks for watching.